Welcome back to Holy Banter. This is Christina Steele.
And I'm Andrea Simpson. Today we are here with Daryl and Brenda Connect. They have been parishioners for 27 years, not as long as I have, but still pretty good record. And Brenda, Christina and I are both blessed and grateful to call her a coworker and friend. Christina let me know this morning that you have held almost every position in the office. Is that true?
Real close. If this one doesn't work out, I'm going to start working with Tom Barbrick on ground. I haven't done that.
Well, there are some trees that you can take care of
I'm
today.
going to wait till that's cleaned up. Right, before I offer my help.
And Daryl, not to leave you out, I don't know you very well yet, but I do know of you as the Candyman because you taught my middle son.
That does sound a little scary.
My middle son's RE class, and so he would refer to you as the Candyman.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever knew his real name. Mind you, I'm always the one who bought the candy. He just handed it out, and he was the hero.
Hey,
so
I mean,
that
what
sounds
really
about
matters?
right.
You guys have known each other for a long time.
We have. I would have to go back really far to remember a time when I didn't know him because we grew up in the same hometown, went to the same parish. I've known him and his whole family pretty much my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Greensburg, Indiana?
Yep.
I grew up in a family, both sides of my family were Catholic, very involved in our parish. My grandparents, my parents were both on different councils, readers, all of that. We attended Mass every Sunday, every holy day of obligation. The thing that stands out to me most about my upbringing in the church, as I reflected back over the years, was we had a very strong community there. I guess I've always known church as community. Those people over the course of my life, they're just always the ones that showed up. I thought everyone had that. When you're young, you feel like whatever happens to you in your life, that just happens to everyone, or that's just the way it is. I lost my mom to cancer when she was 44. So she was diagnosed at 42. And I was late teens at the time. And I just remember everyone showed up, friends of ours in the church, but also just people in the community. They were bringing us food, gifts, all of those things. My faith journey early on was always very positive. I don't know that I always took it very seriously. Like in high school, I would tell my parents I'm going to Mass on Saturday night, and there were times I would go in and grab the bulletin and take it home to make it look like I went.
Brenda.
And then my mom one time said, well, who had Mass? And I'm like, I don't know. So when I tried that again, I grabbed the bulletin and peeked in and was like, Father John. And so then I would go home and I'd be like, here's the bulletin. Father John had the Mass. And so I did do that a couple
Then
times.
she'd be like, well, what was the homily?
And I'd be like,
hold on, I'll stay longer next week.
And I also remember when I was younger, I always pulled that, I'm not feeling very good today. And then my mom would say, well, if you're not feeling good today, that's fine. But then you can't do anything the rest of the day. So I only had that happen maybe once. Learned the hard way as I had to sit in my room all day.
You said you lost your mom when you were in your teens and that the community showed up for you. What kind of impact did that have on your faith life?
My mom was diagnosed when I was 18 or 19, and then she passed away when I was 21. So in the course of that time period, I saw my mom really lean into her faith. She listened to a lot of Catholic music. Like I would hear church songs playing in my home because that's what she would listen to. Or she really prayed the rosary a lot. A lot of our parish friends would come over and they'd pray with her. They would give her rides to her doctor's appointments. They would bring her food. They would just come visit because my dad was still working, and so he didn't want to leave her alone. So they would just come over and visit. So I just watched all of that play out. Now, I was at Bloomington at the time. So, that was pre-Facebook and FaceTime and all of that. See, I feel like my parents kind of tried to protect me from a lot was going on. They wanted me to go do my thing. And then I would come home and I would witness things like, oh, maybe this isn't going so well,
Yeah.
And so, but I did get to witness all of the community that pulled together. And it wasn't just, like I said, it wasn't just our close friends. It was other people that I didn't really know, but they just showed up. I think that's the biggest takeaway is that people just showed up when we were in a time of need. So there was a lot that happened in that time period. Right before she was diagnosed is when we started dating. Then she was, going through her treatments and stuff for a year.
I know how you met, but how did you start dating?
We didn't really become friends till high school. And just on a little side note, my sister is married to his older brother.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
um,
That's a whole nother
and they were married
podcast.
Yeah.
first.
That's real. What a fun family
Yeah.
get
I mean,
together.
it has its pluses and minuses, I would say. Mostly pluses. So I worked at a shoe store and a grocery store at a time, and he would always just come in.
It was
And
between
visit.
my sophomore and junior year at Purdue. And I came home and I worked for a factory and I had to drive this van around and run errands sometimes and pick up supplies. And so like I'd stop by the shoe store and
Oh,
peek in and say hi and finally asked her out on a date. We went to see Batman. She had just graduated from high school. She was going off to IU. All summer I thought we're going to go our separate ways, but let's just have fun while we're together, and thought she was cute.
Well, and that was
Still
the
think she's cute. Then I went back to my junior year and she went for her freshman year and we kind of just kept talking. And
So then in 1992, that was our big year.
it was.
The spring of that year is when I found out I was pregnant.
oh,
We had been talking about getting married, but we were not officially engaged yet. We did decide we're going to just go ahead and we're going to get married. I would have been going into my senior years. I took a year off. I did go back and finish. But so we got married in July of 92. And my mom at that time was in remission. She was doing really well. So I had no clue that it had come back. My mom passed away November of 92.
Oh,
Wow.
So it went very quickly from there because at our wedding, she was really
She was
perfectly fine.
Yeah. She's beautiful.
Yeah. And then our daughter, our firstborn, was born on Christmas Day of 92.
oh wow.
That was a true gift from God.
Why is that?
I have one sister and I had my dad, and it was really hard. It was really a hard time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I was angry at God, I would say, and not, it was a difficult time.
Yeah. To go through so much change in
Right,
that
and-
short of amount of time.
Exactly. And, it's funny because, we lived in Milwaukee at the time, too. I really felt secluded.
We didn't really know anybody.
Yeah.
No, we had one car. He would leave to go to work. I would always joke. I tell Molly to this day, Molly's my firstborn. Sometimes we'd both just lay on the bed and cry.
Oh,
We'd be like, I don't know what to do. And I did feel like I was angry with God for kind of a long time,
Yeah.
honestly.
just because you had to lose your mom at such a young age.
Well, she was supposed to be their help. The plan
Yeah,
was that she
exactly.
would come and help with the baby. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this child? Her was wonderful all the time. And honestly, my dad was too, even though he was fine.
He's
I
a
had my
dad.
sister.
He's a dad.
He was a dad.
Sorry, Daryl. But,
Yeah. Well, Daryl kind of blew my dad out of the water because Daryl's very active in our
Oh.
kids' lives. But again, we did feel very isolated. We were not really going to church at the
Yeah.
time. And not that we weren't not
Yeah.
going, but we weren't a member of a parish.
Mhm.
We would occasionally go to mass if
Mhm.
timing was right. And so,
How'd your parents react when they found out you were pregnant?
Oh boy.
oh.
We're going right in there.
So this is another funny story. His parents live across the street from my parents.
Oh my gosh.
At the, not growing up.
Not
Okay.
growing up.
At the
Yeah, this
time
was
when
at the
we were,
time.
yeah.
His parents were just moving in across the street. So we were like, okay, who are we going to first? And we're like, we're going to your parents first. So we did his parents first. And the deal was he was going to tell his parents, I would tell mine.
Yeah.
So he went and he held up to his end of the
Yep.
deal and he told his parents. And then we walk over to mine and I'm like, we're just sitting there and he's looking at me like,
I'm looking at her mom and dad and I'm waiting for her to start talking and nothing's coming out.
And then I start crying.
And then I look over and she's just bawling. I'm like, okay, I guess I got
I
to break
guess
the
I'm
news
doing
here.
it.
So, but it went fine. It did turn out, it really was a blessing.
Yeah. Because otherwise my
everything-
mom would not have been at my wedding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
We wouldn't have her pictures at our
Yeah.
wedding. And like I talked about at the parish revival, how you can't see the dots connecting moving
Mhm.
forward. You can only see them looking back, how
Mhm.
everything connected. As she was going through the year 1992, I didn't go through what she did, but I think about this a lot. It was one of those years where I had graduated in December. I took my first job in Milwaukee.
And that's a hard transition.
Yeah, bought a car, moved away, got my first apartment. Then everything just starts happening. We find out she's expecting. we have to plan a wedding. Then her mom passes away. And then we're in Milwaukee. We don't know anybody and other than the people I work with. And then Molly's born on Christmas. And when I look back of all the things that happened that year, you guys probably have seen this footprints in the sand thing where you look back and you're like, Jesus, where were you? And it's like, well, that one set of footprints you saw, that was me carrying you. And I think about that all the time because, man, he just picked me up that year. It was just like, I got you here because this is a lot. And
How did you feel when you found out Brenda was pregnant?
Told him over the phone because he was in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So.
Okay, we can do this, right? It was, we had talked about getting married. We had been dating for over 3 years and it just accelerated everything. That's all, but wouldn't change it for a bit.
During that time, we were so young and naive. And I didn't understand grief at the time or how grief worked. So, and neither did he. And so back when I did marriage prep, I would do pre-Cana with couples and they're always in this honeymoon phase. And I would always hear about all these couples that had this honeymoon phase. We just didn't have that time. So I always would tell those couples during our pre-Cana, you don't know. You don't know what lies ahead.
Yeah.
So there's going to be hard times. I think for us with my mom, he thought that we would go to the funeral and do that. And then all of a sudden come Monday morning, things would just be kind of back to normal. I kind of did too. I didn't realize that could last for
You're in your
a long
20s,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how was that first year then? I mean, you're mourning your mom, you're in this strange town. How long were you guys in Milwaukee?
We moved back that following summer.
Just given the circumstances, I kind of felt like I needed to get her back closer to family. Molly was just an infant and Brenda needed help.
We actually moved in with my dad for a bit. And after a
Wow.
couple months, we were like, we have got to get out of here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Then we moved to Indy and went to Seton, actually,
Oh.
but never joined. Never
That's a young adult thing.
got
Yeah.
involved. And then we moved to Avon. And I think this is where I started realizing how important community is. We don't know anybody. No one's really talking to us.
It didn't feel like Greensburg. Nothing wrong with it. Just didn't feel like home for us.
Yeah. And I remember leaving Mass one time and we discussed just leaving the Catholic Church because there were Kingsway Christian Church. I don't even know if that's still there. We just heard it was a very vibrant.
Yeah. And it was close. It was a mile away from our house. And we were like,
we
we
knew
just
a
don't
couple
know.
people.
Something else out there that might, right?
Yeah.
It was just a curiosity thing.
And then we
Probably
looked at
everybody
each-
gets that, but fortunately it didn't stick. I'm a researcher by nature. If I buy anything or do anything, I research a heck out of it. So always being Catholic, I've always been like, well, what else is out there? Is it better? Is it different? How is it going to land with me? We found out pretty quick it didn't land as well as the truth, right? Which is what I always tell people. Just, it's fine to go out and search for the truth. Just be looking for the truth. And it'll generally bring you back to the Catholic Church.
Did you always have a pretty strong faith growing up?
I wouldn't say strong faith. It's just expected of us growing up. We went to church every Sunday. I wouldn't say we talked about it a lot at home. It was just part of life. We went to St. Mary's Catholic School. I served. It was just kind of what you did. My mom was a devout Catholic in that she prayed the rosary, especially as her kids got older and we probably started doing things we shouldn't have been doing. Like we'd get the subliminal guilt trip when we would walk through the front door after we were supposed to be home 2 hours ago and she would be sitting in the front room.
She's 3 rosaries in at
She's
that
got,
point.
yeah, she's got a Bible open. She's reading the Bible or she's doing the rosary. It was that constant reminder that she was praying for us. Couldn't control everything that we did, but she was praying for us.
Cool.
She probably prayed me through a lot, not just me, but my brothers and my sister as well. That was the best gift she gave to us, and it's a gift. She passed 5.5 years ago, and now I think my dad's kind of picked it up, seeing what she did, and every time I talk to him, he says, "I'm praying for you." So
That's nice.
yeah.
When in your relationship did faith start becoming center of your life?
It's interesting. When we decided we're gonna move to Zionsville, so our house was being built, and that summer before, we were like, let's just go up to that church to get a feel for it. And the first time we went, it was really different because it was in the old where the church hall is, so it was a little more circular. We were used to a very traditional church. Not only was it circular, but it was very tiny. And there were chairs, not pews, had I ever been into a church with chairs and not pews,
Yep.
and there were no kneelers. So we actually left, and I remember him saying, "Now, was that a Roman Catholic?"
We had to find the sign out on the corner,
We
and we
did.
turned around and like, yep, it says Catholic Church. So,
We kept going, and when we moved in, I went to register my second child, Ben, for preschool at Gingerbread House. And who would be his teacher but Aggie Weber and Judy Gallagher? She is no longer with us, but she was a very active parishioner here too. When I think of that community and acts of generosity, I picture those two women because they really wrapped us up, and
mhm.
they were so kind. We would drop off at daycare and they'd always give us a hug. I saw you at mass across the way on
Aw.
Sunday. And they would come over during mass. They would make it a point to walk over and talk to us, acknowledge the kids. They just made us feel really welcome.
Mhm.
And they introduced us to Joe and Bev Sagala, who used to be longtime parishioners. They would come over, and I bet they watched our kids at
Yeah.
half a dozen to a dozen times. They would
Wow.
come and say, "You need a date night. You guys need to go out." And they
That
would
was
bring
nice because our
toys.
parents were hour and 15 minutes away or
Yeah.
so, and they just didn't
Yeah.
really like to travel that much. And so having Joe and Bev as pseudo
Great.
for
And they would
yeah.
bring games and cookies. They would have the kids over. Here's the community that
Yeah.
we've been
Yeah.
missing. I remember in those early days here in Zionsville, I feel like we have finally found home. Like it felt like what we were used to growing up. And that's what I wanted for my own kids.
Yeah.
So Ben, it was even funny when he turned 4, top of his list, he wanted Mrs. Weber to come to his birthday party. So
Oh,
she came to his 4-year-old birthday party.
She did.
That's
that
adorable.
is so sweet.
Yeah.
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 I would say the other couple were Bob and Michelle Walters. Like that's the first couple that I met. We were standing in line outside of Weitzel Hall to get coffee and donuts.
Well, I think before that, they invited us to go
Did they?
because we had kids the same age, and they were like, "Why don't you come?" And so we went with them.
That's
And
nice.
that was, and if you know both of them, and especially Bob, just so outgoing and welcoming, and the fact that somebody was talking to us at this church, it made it easier to come back again the next
Yeah.
week.
We
And
ended up doing
we ended
vacations
up
with
doing
them.
vacations
Wow.
with them. To this day, 30 some years later, it is what?
27.
Most of the people we do things with are parishioners here.
Mm.
Yes, it's parents of our kids from when they were growing up, but so many of them are parishioners here
Mhm.
as well. And I think that's just seeing them at masses on Sunday and then doing fun stuff with them
Yeah.
during the week. We've gone on vacations with folks, and everybody knows we're gonna get up, whether we're in the British Virgin Islands or somewhere else. We're gonna go to mass on Sunday. That's just what we do. It's
Mm.
important to us.
Michelle invited me to be a part of Mom's group,
Mm.
which was
That was big.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And then there was also a babysitting co-op at the time, which was not St. Alphonsus, but it really was mostly St. Alphonsus people. There was this huge community of help and support, and but it was them noticing and approaching us
Yeah.
and inviting us,
Mhm.
honestly, is what kind of was a game changer for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. I've so many connections. I'm just sitting here thinking, I worked with Terry and Lynn Sparts for a while, for a number of years. And Terry and I got to know each other through parish council and finance council. One day he just said, "Hey, would you like to come over and work with our company?" And he goes, "I think you would do a good job." And so I worked there for 3 or 4
Wow.
years, right? And Terry was such a great guy. I mean,
Mhm.
just still look around mass today and miss him walking
Yeah.
around.
Well, you had an
Um,
interesting dynamic with them because Terry was
yeah.
Daryl's boss, and then
Yeah.
Daryl was Lynn's boss.
Oh, that's
So they
funny.
used to laugh
Yeah.
about that
Not
a
the
lot.
best spot to be in, but looking back, it was a great time. Yeah. And then we end up just in this last year with a number of things that happened. We were able to buy Mike Weber's business, and like what a blessing all that was, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that doesn't happen if we're not here and get to know them and everything else. So it was just really God's blessing on all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even for them, knowing it was in good hands.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Brenda, when did you start working for the church?
So I volunteered here a lot at the time, and this was right as Father Doug was kind of on his way out and Father O'Keefe was coming in. I was volunteering, and Father O'Keefe brought in Kim Overmeyer. And when he brought in Kim, a lot of what I was doing volunteer wise fell under her. So Kim and I were working together in my volunteer position. And one day she just kind of said, "Yeah, Father wants me to hire an RE coordinator." Daryl made the comment, well, you're always over there. Why don't you just get paid for it?
That's what my
sounds,
yeah, my husband
really
has said the
familiar.
same thing.
I was like, I don't know what an RE coordinator does. And
It's like, it's basically what you do
so
now.
Kim is like, I think you could do it. You took me under her wing and learned a lot. I think that's when I started realizing our faith is so much richer and deeper than I ever knew. And we kind of started diving into a little bit more learning. We have a lot to learn.
Mm.
There's a lot we don't know.
We went to Catholic grade school, went to
Yeah.
I remember CCD in 5th grade. The nuns taught, and we would run out of mass. We had time to go down to the quick stop at the bottom of the hill, grab candy, and bring it back up. And remember sitting there just getting through the class. That's all I was doing.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like Brenda said, there was so much for me to learn. And I do feel like I'm a lifelong learner. These past 15 years, I've enjoyed diving into the
Yeah.
number of books and the great authors, and wish I had this when I was younger. But then again, I didn't have the aptitude or the desire to
Yeah.
know it then when I was
Mhm.
We
younger.
didn't even really know it was out there.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
didn't know we were missing something.
Yeah.
And I remember CIA, and the person I was sponsoring would ask me all these questions, and I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know myself, I was learning along with her, and then you became involved in the RCIA program, teaching and doing a lot, and I think that helped
Yeah.
you a lot in your faith too.
Yeah, it did. The tipping point for me, though, was 2002, and it was Chirp. Chirp
Oh,
was
for me
just
as
Christ
well.
renews his parish.
Christ Renews His Parish was just getting started. There was a small group of guys who got it started. There was this big invitation to attend. We're getting this started in our church. And I really signed up just because I liked the guys that were putting one on. It wasn't like this desire of, oh, man, I need to get better. I was just like, these guys are doing it, and they're pretty cool guys. And I think that would be a good weekend. Then I took my name off the list because, as you guys know, I'm a golf fan, and it was during Ryder Cup. And Ryder Cup is like a highlight golf thing. It's where Europeans play Americans. And I was like, I can't miss that. And then for some reason, I got back on the list. And back then, you'd have your bag and you'd have your pillow,
Oh.
and they'd come to your house and they'd pick you up because they didn't want anybody pulling into the parking lot and then deciding against it and leaving.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. So Brenda snuck your name back on the list, is what you're telling me. She wanted a weekend.
Yeah.
No, I had 4 little
I was going to say,
gosh.
What
Yeah.
are you doing?
He wanted a weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
And it came at the perfect time because I did have 4 kids. Great. We didn't have Jack yet. And Gracie was just a newborn. But when you start having kids, there are so many things out of your control and you want the best for them. For me, I need to live a life that they can look up to. And I need God's help, really.
Yeah.
I went. It was a great weekend. We had a good first day. Sometime overnight, Father Doug talked about the sacrament of reconciliation at Mass. And then what's coming, right? Like, they're going to make me go to confession. And I hadn't been since maybe 13. So
Oh, wow.
20 some years, right? I don't want to go. Mike Einters was sitting right beside me and he was like, "Oh, you're going." Like, and it was like they say about first
Wow.
graders.
This is hardcore.
It was like they come out, they walk lighter.
Yeah.
And I did. Like, I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know what that was going to feel like." And then that night, I don't know how else you explain it, just the Holy Spirit just descended, on all of us, because I woke up and I was on fire Sunday morning and just couldn't get enough of it. And that was really
He's always been a leader of faith in our home.
Mhm.
And so when he came home for that, he was like, "You're doing the women's weekend. I've got the kids." Like and
Oh.
that was a lot, right? Like, but he was like, "I can do this." And in my mind, I'm like, I get a whole weekend to myself and they're going to make me food. I'm in, sign me up. So I kind of went with that mentality. But again, it was a wonderful way to grow in faith. Community, it just sucked me right in because all these wonderful women just really supported each other and have a friendship even to this day. Even though we don't get together anymore, there's just that kind of connection that stays with you.
You're bonded.
Yes.
I do remember that because we were coming from a lukewarm place, and then I went to Chirp, and then all of a sudden, like, I wanted you to have that. And not that I wanted you to be like my mom, but I wanted you to become prayerful. Oh my gosh, I chose the wrong words. You might want to edit that out.
I
Nope.
love his mom. I
Yeah.
love his mom, but I
But
am no Ruth Kennett.
but it was I wanted her to become very prayerful
Mhm.
and be that example for our kids, and she just has completely surpassed that. Now she's the one pulling me up all the time with her faith and prayer.
That's
So
wonderful.
Mhm.
Did you find yourself doing the same thing as Daryl's mom? My son's in college now. As they leave, you do start kind of really leaning in more into prayer because that's about the only thing you can do.
oh,
Oh, for
oh,
sure.
we're saying a lot of prayers right now for
Yeah,
them.
they really do have moments that just bring you to your knees, and you're like, I really can't do anything but pray right
Mhm.
now. And so, for sure.
The seed has been planted. That's
Yeah.
what we keep reminding
Mhm.
That's
ourselves,
all you can
right?
do. You said your favorite saint is Mother Mary and Saint Monica.
Mhm.
Why is that?
When Daryl talks about those connecting the dots, Mary, because I lost my mom so young,
Mhm.
has been a source of comfort for me.
Mm.
Someone to go to in prayer. Who better to model your life after? Well, I've been blessed with another group of women here at the parish who get together to play the rosary. That's a real source of comfort for me. And then having that group of people to do it with that, again, that you can be vulnerable and intimate with and share, knowing that you're praying the same prayers together. I just always thought of her as someone I could go to who understands the struggle. I mean, I think because I never had my mom to call, and Daryl's mom was wonderful. She had an open door. She was so lovely. It wasn't my mom. And so I I just felt very drawn to her. With Saint Monica, I would say that is a little bit more recent, just watching how she prayed for her son and how she persevered, and oh my goodness, she just never gave up, and it wasn't a quick answer, but she just kept going, and that's just another model of someone that I would like to be like.
So you're not coordinating RE anymore.
I am not.
And when I started here almost 3 years ago, you weren't here.
No, I was
So
on a
you
little
came
break.
Yeah, you came back. What made
Yeah.
you come back?
I'm just really passionate about St. Alphonsus. I love what this parish has to offer. I love the community, and just it's very near and dear to my heart. So I have to laugh sometimes. Jack will say to our other kids, well, we stayed after mass because mom and dad had to talk to their young friends. No, tonight they were talking to their older friends because I feel like we've been blessed with such a wide range of people that we've encountered here.
It seems like your goal in life is to let other people experience what you did in that
Mhm.
community.
I do, because it's about showing up for
Mhm.
the people that are in your life, and doesn't have to be your closest friends, but they're people in your community, and they're people in your parish, and just looking around and showing up. I think if we all just led that life of generosity, and it doesn't have to be grand, helping an older lady unload her car at the grocery, just being that person to someone else and helping them in their time of need. I think because I benefited from it so much when I
Mhm.
was younger, I just want to be that for other people, and I want other people to
Mhm.
do that too.
Yeah.
So,
I'm glad you're here and able to be the person that thinks about the people on the fringes because you were a person on the fringe. You know, you'd thought about leaving and found a new place
Yeah.
here and found community here. And I'm grateful that you're here to think about those people every day and make that your purpose to have them join the fold with you.
I'm glad to be back too.
And you've been through a lot. What advice do you have for people on how you've been able to get through the last 34 years?
With so much joy.
Yeah, I mean, you both seem very happy and
Well, what I think I would say, it's never easy, but it's always worth it. Every relationship and marriage has their highs and lows. There's no other person I would rather do it with, because I know he's got a good heart. I know he loves me with all his heart. I know he loves our kids. No one's going to love them more than he does. I always think there's something better, right? The next stage is even going to be better. Having those mentor couples that we've had, like the Webbers and the Sagalas, watching them, we know it hasn't always been easy for them either, but you just make it through. And I kind of have a funny story with the Sagalas because they were dancers. You
Mm.
could come to Oktoberfest and they would be out there and they could dance.
wow.
I remember her saying to me, you guys need to learn how to dance, because then even if you're really mad at them, you can still dance with them. You don't have to look at them. And so I remember Daryl and I were like, we need to take dance lessons. So we
No.
tried. We were so bad.
Ah.
Stopped.
We did.
But it was just very cute.
I did bring something. This is kind of an anchor for me for our marriage. I have anchors for the job and the way I work, try to instill character and do things with integrity. But This one I got a long time ago. I think I found it was Those Catholic Men who wrote, this goes back probably 20 some years, but I paraphrased it to make it applicable to she and I. It says, Brenda, though mine in a sense, is not mine for now or even mine forever. She is mine to safeguard, to protect, to spoil, to cherish, to delight in, to encourage, to bless, to live out my call to raise children with. But none of these are the ends which our relationship seeks. Ultimately, she is mine to lead to heaven. I don't live all up to that all the time, right?
None of us do, yeah.
Yeah. It goes on. She'll not always be mine. My love cannot outlast her existence. At some point, she's going to be taken home to heaven, and to that end, she will belong to God, fully and totally to God's heart. One day we will say goodbye to one another, and one of us will be left behind. One day she will go to a love that will swallow my love whole. If I fail to get her to heaven, then I know where she will go. In that place, she will never taste love again. So I have to live my life with the levity of knowing that one day she will be mine no longer. There will be days and even seasons when I will wonder if I have what it takes, or even if I signed up for this. But I have to pray to not let my tank become empty. Let my love of Brenda be the fruit that pours out of our relationship with God. Frequent confession and frequent the Eucharist. Remember the end. Cherish every day. Delight in every part of her. And one day hear those words, well done, good and faithful servant.
Oh, Daryl,
Have you ever heard that before?
I didn't know about that. No.
Oh, you need to
So-
frame that. That's really
That is
beautiful.
really nice.
That's in my nightstand drawer.
Beautiful.
This is in your
so
nice-
sweet.
You need to go through that when you get home.
Before we started recording, Daryl made a promise that he had a joke that he was going to share with us.
Okay.
Oh, Andrea doesn't
So,
forget anything.
I do
Yeah.
not. Like a steel trap up here,
Yeah.
Brenda.
So I think this is a funny joke because it applies to so many times in my life. So there's this guy, and he's going to the courthouse square. He's got a court, and he can't be late. Otherwise, he's going to get sentenced, and it's not going to be good. And as he gets to the courthouse square, he's looking for a parking spot. And he was just like, he can't find one. And he's looking at his watch. And he's like, please, God, I know I haven't been a very faithful person. I haven't prayed. But if you will find me a parking spot so I can get into my court date on time, I promise that I will start coming back to church on Sunday. So he drives around the block, still nothing. And he's looking at his watch. He goes, please, Lord, okay, I really need this parking spot. Like, if you give me a parking spot right now, I am going to go to confession. I'm going to amend my life. I promise to get to church every single day. Please, Lord, help me. He drives around another block, and all of a sudden, he sees this car parking out, and he throws up his hands. He goes, never mind, I found one.
Jeez.
And Daryl, is this why you were parked illegally at Mass the other day? I heard a rumor.
Behind Kate.
Behind Kate Shay. I heard a rumor you were illegally parked.
Well, before we wrap up, Brenda has talked about how you are quite the evangelizer at work.
I don't think you do it intentionally.
No,
You
no.
just live your life authentically and are not afraid to share things.
There have been some
with
cool
people.
things happen. I worked for a guy a long time ago, and he'd always want to meet very early in the morning. And one morning, it's Ash Wednesday. I need to go get ashes. And it turns out he was Catholic, but he didn't go. He goes, I'll go with you. So he went, and we went, and then it kind of became a joke because we ended up closing this gigantic deal that year. Then he attributed it us to going to Mass. And so then every time I was in town, he'd be like, are we going to Mass? And so we kind of just did that, right? He probably was going for the wrong reasons, but it didn't matter because he was going. And then I've just had, the good fortune of running into guys who, I don't know, just somehow it comes up or they feel comfortable in talking about their faith to me. And so when we have a good dialogue about faith, and they're not all Catholics,
Mhm.
sometimes they have, just a good Christian faith.
Mhm.
But it's a chance to talk about Catholicism. And yeah, it's just, I don't know if I'm a good evangelizer.
I mean, but that is evangelization.
yeah.
It doesn't have to, people think it means you stand on a street corner, but you're just a witness in your office.
Holy days of obligation, like if I have to be late in the morning or
Mhm.
leave early for work, make sure I get to Mass if I'm traveling. I just let people know. Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
think that's it. He doesn't say, oh, I have to leave early. He tells them why.
Yeah.
And it's not to make anyone feel
Yeah.
bad or it's just, this is what I do. And
Yeah.
it just plants little seeds.
Well, we are so glad that you guys came to chat with us today. We had a lot of fun
Yeah.
talking
You
with
made
you.
that very easy.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, man. Spread the word.
It
It
was.
was fun.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
been
good.
fun getting to know you both, and really, it's just neat to hear your story of how you met when you were children and grew up together.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
really
Um,
sweet.
Sometimes I have a hard time making decisions about things,
Yeah.
and God made it easy for me on this one.
Aw.
From that phone call, it was like, "This is the one you should marry." So I was like, "Yep."
That's
So
awesome.
I never thought about that because you do research stuff. Like it could have taken a
I might
long time.
I might not still be married
You might be
if
still
I hadn't
mulling it
gotten that
over.
call like, "Hey, we're having a baby."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have enough money or what am I yeah.
Consumer Reports says, okay, I guess
Oh,
we're going
if you
for it.
only knew.
My dad is a
Mhm.
Consumer Reports guy for sure.
I have stories I won't say.
We'll save that for work on Thursday.
That's awesome.
All
Well,
right.
thanks.
So,
Thank
all
you
right,
so
thank
much.
you.
Thank you guys.
If you love Holy Banter, you can support us by opening your podcast app and hitting the 5-star button and leaving a quick review. It's easy and it helps us reach way more people. Thank you for listening.